Okay, I have never played King's Quest VI before. I've actually never played any King's Quest games, or to my knowledge, any of these Sierra like point-and-click adventure games. I'm aware of them through cultural osmosis. My understanding is that Sierra kind of launched the genre, and that the LucasArts games kind of came in and like refined them, right? Like I've heard stories about how the early King's Quest games, it's possible to get yourself into an unwinnable state, that sort of a thing, and that was something that LucasArts came in and fixed. As far as the tone of these games, I've also heard that King's Quest is a little bit closer to like Loom than to something like Maniac Mansion. Like it's got humor because all these point-and-click adventure games do, of course, but it trends slightly more serious in like the main story, and then the jokes are in the like the player interaction with the game. But that's the extent of my knowledge about the series. I've heard 6 is a pretty good one, so we'll go ahead and start. I have to do some jank to get it full screen here. Bear with me. All right, look at that logo. Gorgeous. Let me turn it down. Sure. Beautiful. DOS graphics. Thank you, ScumVM, for making these old games playable.
Long ago, in the
Voice
castle
acting.
of a kingdom called Daventry.
Look at these graphics.
Alexander, here you are. Oh, you're still not thinking about Cosima, are you?
For 92.
I suppose I am.
Son, it's been months. You've got to pull yourself together. After all, you only met her that once.
I know.
Have you discovered anything about the land of the Green Isles?
No. No one's even heard of it. It's like she's just vanished.
I wish I could help. Please try to think about something else, dear.
I'll try, Mother.
Do each of the King's Quest games feature the same protagonist, or is it like an anthology? Yeah, so this game is like 3 years before Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2. 5 years before Final Fantasy 7.
Alexander, I feel so alone. I don't know what to do.
Same family, so it's like JoJo.
I wish you were here. Alexander.
Or like Castlevania.
Cosima! Wait!
Same thing.
Mother! Mother, come quick!
Alexander, what on earth? You're white as a ghost.
Mother, I saw Cosima. She was in the mirror.
In the mirror? The magic mirror?
Yes. And
That
it showed
mirror.
me how to find her.
How?
The stars.
Oh, nuclear family, okay.
I saw the stars outside her window.
Oh,
I
that's
can
cool.
navigate by the stars.
Oh, Alexander, if you really go...
It will be all right, Mother. I promise.
Right. Oh, the magic mirror. That mirror. It's like, this is what I was saying, the cutscene is played pretty straight here. But I guess, like, I wonder if anyone's actually tried to make an extremely serious, even down to the interface being dead serious adventure game. It's like, Beneath the Steel Sky was pretty serious from a plot perspective, like the core events that occur, but the game itself is very silly. It's kind of an interesting feature of the genre that, like, the Ludo part of Ludo narrative is very irreverent, and it doesn't intrude on the narrative that it is that way. Magic Mirror was the MacGuffin in the first game. Oh, okay.
Prince Alexander sailed the known seas and beyond. Land ho! Land ho! Land
I love these graphics. Really impressive for 92. And it's a really long cutscene to have this level of graphics, too. I've seen a lot of the devs would do something like this and bail out after like 20 seconds of it. Like, that was all our budget.
As the ship nears the shore, day turns to night and the sea turns violent.
Yeah, this didn't play by default. As of then, brand new CD-ROM format. Is that why there's voice acting? Because we're playing the CD version of the game instead of the 28 floppies version? Motion videos at your fingertips. Even the 3D logo, holy shit. Man. I kind of pine, like, nostalgia can be a vile thing, but I feel like it is so trivial to do everything that, like, when you're showing off your 3D logo, that's pretty great. It makes me happy. I pine for a time when it was more difficult to be creative, if that makes sense. I think it's a trade-off situation. It's not like this time is worse. I think it's better in a lot of ways, but like limitations breed creativity. Text and dialogue by Jane Jensen, really? I don't have a lot of women in game design that early in the industry. There's the lady who writes Uncharted, I forget her name. Amy... might be Amy. 3D logo is the pinnacle of graphics tech. I know, right? I don't know Jane Jensen. I haven't heard the name. What else has she worked on?
Alexander awakens to find himself on an unfamiliar beach. For a moment, he is too dazed to remember how he got here.
Oh, I didn't know that about Sierra either.
Then, he does remember. The shipwreck, the sea. Just as he had seen his men safely into the lifeboats, a gigantic wave picked him up and tossed him overboard.
He's a good guy. He didn't let his pirates die.
That was the last he'd seen of his crew. Debris from the shipwreck is scattered along the shore.
Amy Hennig, thank you. I kept wanting to say Amy Heckerling, but that's the clueless
no trace.
Past Times Richmond High.
He can only hope and pray that the lifeboat
Director.
survived the currents, and that his men made their way safely back to Daventry.
Okay, I'm super pumped that there's full narration, because now I don't have to read aloud. Like, that's not one of my skill sets. I read pretty quickly in my head, and I don't have a very good radio voice. So sometimes adventure games are stressful for me, but if the whole thing is narrated,
Alexander
then
picks up his royal insignia ring from the beach.
Delightful. Alright, so this is pretty standard adventure game stuff. Right-click changes what I can do.
Alexander searches for a way to reach the black-haired girl whose memory will not escape him.
Don't overwrite saves. Is this game among the King's Quest titles where it is possible to softlock? So let me see where I go to do that. Okay. I guess if you are in chat and you know that I've reached a softlock situation, go ahead and tell me. Or if I'm about to make a decision that might lead to a softlock, if I haven't saved.
A box has been partially buried under sand. Alexander takes the coin and leaves the ruined box where it is.
Cool. Can I, like, inspect my inventory?
Alexander is carrying a copper coin of Daventry. King Graham graces the front of the coin. Alexander's ring is made of the purest gold and has the insignia of the royal family of Daventry on its face.
Pretty solid voice acting, too.
Reminiscing of
Especially for the
home
era.
is fine, but the ring is not a very good listener.
I feel like adventure games is where a lot of the good early game writers went as well. Like, The Longest Journey is, like, exquisitely written and voice acted in an era where nothing was exquisitely written or voice acted in the video game space.
Ah, if only Alexander's father could speak now and give his advice.
I see. I can use the arrow to use it on other things. Okay.
Alexander has no wish to disturb the green plants. Without a ship, Alexander has no need for a ship's wheel. Alexander has no need to carry around large rocks.
I love that every line starts with Alexander.
Alexander has no use for the ship debris.
The wheel.
The sand is warm to the touch.
Alexander doesn't think so.
Can't reach the other island's mountain from here. To take the path, Alexander need only walk down it.
Okay, I'm down. Switch to walk. I understand. Oh, the era before context sensitivity. This is all just Alexander thinking to himself, isn't it?
Alexander examines the tree's hollow, but finds nothing of interest.
I'm glad they have a custom line. That's an impressive amount of voice acting, too. It's investigating all these things.
The old tree forms a perfect nesting place for wildlife. Rocks abound on this lush volcanic isle.
Hello? Is anyone in there?
There is no reply from the hollow in the tree. The rocks are silent, as they have been for ages untold.
Talking to rocks. This is a great game.
Is anyone about?
Alexander gets no reply.
I like the lip syncing on the portraits, too. That's fun. Kitties. Ben is opening and closing drawers. Hey, stop that. Hey! I'll pause the clock really quick. He just got in a cabinet and is knocking things out of it. Some people's cats. Benedict and the killed him. What are you doing? Why are you in there? Just causing havoc.
Old lamps for new. Old lamps for new.
It's ready to lock all of our cabinets. Already got the pantry locked. There's nothing he wants in there. There's just cups and glasses and bowls and stuff.
Old lamps for new.
Oh no, what dialogue did I miss?
Alexander is not in the market for pottery just now in his life.
Good day.
It's not trivial to cat-proof it. The cats have gotten into the pantry even though there are 3 locks on it. I don't know if I want to 3-lock everything.
The stuffed bear probably has stuffed fleas. Alexander decides to keep his distance. Alexander's musical abilities have always leaned more towards wind instruments.
Like this one?
If Alexander wants anything from the pawn shop, he'll have to first give the pawn shop owner something in trade.
That's fair.
Alexander already has a skeleton. Alexander takes a mint.
That mint is going to be necessary to beat the
small
game.
Green mint looks very tasty. Alexander takes a closer look at the items on the counter.
This is cute so far. Enjoying it.
The flute is only made of plain wood, but its notes are fine and true. Ah, yes, the painter's brush. It was well used by one of the island's best painters. There's a lot of creativity in that brush, and its bristles are still in good condition. I see you have noticed my mechanical nightingale. She is made of plain tin, but she sings the sweetest song you can imagine, barely distinguishable from the real thing. Have you an interest in tinder boxes? This one is only slightly battered. It holds a good supply of flint, a sturdy striking pad, and even a candle in case you find yourself with naught else to hold the flame.
I gotta grind my fire making in King's Quest. So, question. Is this the sort of space where I can get myself in trouble? As far as soft locking, like I only have one coin, so there's an item that is useless to buy, that sort of a thing?
The pawn shop owner doesn't look like a man to be tussled with. The curiosities business is just dangerous enough to require one to develop one's boxing skills.
You can exchange the items, okay.
Alexander takes a closer look.
Let's get the tinder
I'm
box.
interested in that tinder box on the counter.
What do you desire to
I
get?
like how he paused there.
The items on the front counter are all of equally slight value, worth only a copper or two. They are handy items nonetheless.
I guess, how long does it usually take before you realize that you've soft locked is the thing that I'm worried about. If it's like, I'll find out within 5 or 10 minutes, that's not so bad. But if it's like...
I have this copper coin. Is it of any value to you at all?
Not till the end of the game, okay.
I have never seen a Daventry coin before, but it is copper genuine enough. I might even find a buyer who is interested in foreign currency. The items on the front counter on
It's not very nice of him to be okay with
I
that.
can let go for the price of 1 copper. You may make your choice from there.
Alexander looks at the items on the counter to make his selection.
None of this credits will do fine shit.
I believe I'll take the tinder box.
Very well. Your coin is well spent. Remember, this is a pawn shop. I am always willing to take back my own goods in trade.
I'll remember. Thank you.
Perfect. The only thing I'm worried about is soft locking, so...
The pawn
Unless if
shop
it's,
is
like, really
too cluttered
important
and
visible
dusty to
content.
poke around in efficiently.
Sorry.
If Alexander wants anything...
Very good, Kaimon. See ya. Enjoy when you do play it. You can get it on GOG.
Alexander
collection pretty
examines
cheaply.
The large pot. It's currently empty, but a few scraps in the bottom indicate that it is used as a dump site on occasion.
Old lamps for new.
Hopefully he's not digging around in a chamber pod.
For new.
The old man, like most peddlers, is not interested in Alexander's empty hand.
I'm just impressed at the volume of,
An
like,
old beggar
voice
is
acted
peddling his
content.
wares in the village. He offers a variety of lamps,
For, like,
all
showing your
neatly
empty
lined
hand to a
up on
guy.
long pole. The peddler's pole provides convenient transportation of the lamp seller's wares. There are 6 new lamps on the pole.
Yeah, right, sir.
Good day, peddler.
Good day, sir. If you would like to get one of my
Hello,
fine
traveler.
lamps, I'll need an old lamp in trade.
Isn't it a rather bad business? Taking old lamps and giving new lamps in exchange?
Well, there's always a chance that I'll find a genie. If I had a genie, I'd be richer than a king. Besides, there's always a roaring business in antique luminaries.
Right on.
The sign above the door says Ali's Books.
Hello. I will be right up. Now, what can I do for you?
What can I do for you?
There's a small table near the door that bears a sign. The sign has undergone a number of changes. It once read 10 pence, but that was crossed out and replaced with 5 pence, then 1 pence, then free. The sign currently reads, "Take one, please." Only one book remains on the table. It looks like the bookshop owner really wants to get rid of that book. There's a small... Alexander picks up the book from the small table.
Oh,
Played
yes,
Fable a
please
really
take
long
that.
time ago, just the first
You
one. I
have
don't
my
remember
most
much from it.
humble thanks for doing so, good sir.
Really? Thanks.
Something you already see.
There's no point in using an object on itself. Alexander is carrying a book from the bargain table in the bookshop. Alexander opens the bargain book and reads a paragraph at random.
2 dulcimers raised to the degree of 40 half-dulcimers, divided into equal parts by the third of a cackle of grouse geese, put over the result of 10 fine mackles, albeit small fine mackles, stretched over the total of 53 1/8 bottles of wild beast lard.
Okay, so it's a super boring book. Got it.
Phew, what an incredibly boring book. No wonder the bookshop owner wanted to get rid of it so badly.
Yeah, I wonder that too. It probably is the same excerpt every time, right?
Alexander opens the bargain.
2 dulcimers raised...
Yeah, okay. That feels like in keeping with the game's attention to detail, though.
Those shelves. An old man occasionally steals sidelong glances at Alexander from under a concealing hood.
I feel like that's the danger of doing a game like this, or like Shenmue, where you have such an insane attention to detail that you train the player to expect stuff that's not reasonable for any other dev to include, right? And then they're disappointed at you not doing something that's very unreasonable to do in the first place.
Good day, merchant. Can you tell me what land this is?
Why, certainly. This is the Isle of the Crown, the main isle of the land of the Green Isles.
Thank the fates. I knew I was close when we sank, but I dared not hope. Tell me, how fares your Princess Cosima?
The princess? She is well enough, I suppose.
Is she near?
The castle of the Crown.
He leaned in real close to the microphone for that one.
And good luck.
He was like, "Is she near?" Don't do that, dude. That's weird.
How much for that book on the counter, merchant?
It is a fine book, is it not? I obtained it from the estate of the one and only magician this kingdom has ever had. Poofed himself into an aardvark in the end, or so I heard. I never found the spells all that useful myself, but then I lead a boring life. I tell you what, if you can find another rare book, something a bit more marketable, I might be willing to exchange the spell book for it.
So not the bargain book. Got it. Also, the camera angle in this room is really cool, right? Like, we're inside a bookshelf, like the camera is sitting on top of these books. That's pretty cool. It's a neat little attention to detail. I miss the days of pre-rendered backgrounds. I've said it a lot, but it's like every screen is a painting.
Alexander sees nothing particularly interesting there. Alexander...
I should probably keep some notes here. Pull up Notepad, I'll save these for my next playthrough. So, boring book can put someone to sleep. Spells at library.
I've told you a million times, those flowers are too sweet for the likes of you. You've still got to do the breakfast dishes, make lunch, and clean the stables yet this morning. And get your veil back on! No one wants to look at your face!
Yes, stepmother.
There's a young girl in the yard. The girl is dressed in a long, plain orange robe with a thick headdress. From the appearance of her clothes and from a skittish, fearful look about her, Alexander gets the strong impression that she is a servant, or even worse, a slave. The serving girl appears to be stealing a quiet moment tending the rose bushes.
It's a creepy protagonist. Squall.
Palm trees, as graceful as gazelles, wave in the warm tropical breeze. Alexander doesn't want to intrude on private property unless he's been invited.
Okay, Alexander. I see how it is. He best knows Alexander, after all. Does he, though?
Palm trees, as graceful as gazelles, wave in the warm... A pot, etched by the natural elements of the island, decorates the porch. Rocks abound on this lush volcanic isle.
Okay, so I think, as I say, they had unique rock dialogue for every rock in the game. I was gonna crap my pants. I still like to entertain the idea that the narrator is his internal monologue. This is how he thinks of himself. I don't think we're going to run into Tony J this episode. Oludefex is saying that he's in the cast for this. Love myself some Tony J. Sad that he passed. Area transition. Okay, there we go. Oh, really? That would be great. That's the speed option. So that only affects movement, not, like the dialogue or anything like that? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Cool.
The little hut is empty. There's a little hut just off the path. Perhaps the guard dogs have an occasional use for it, but it looks empty now.
I see. Keep that in mind.
2 guards take their stance in front of the castle doors. They look quite fierce and have the stiff, blank expression of soldiers on formal duty.
Excuse me, guardsmen. Guard dogs.
Oh, they're dog people.
I've been traveling for months to see Princess Cassima. I would like an audience, please.
I'm sorry, but the princess is not receiving visitors, particularly not strangers.
Very good. You don't understand, I saw her in a mirror or some shit. Look at the 3D grass blades in the
Vines
foreground.
have begun to climb the castle's stucco walls.
Sure.
The vines are too flimsy to support Alexander.
Yeah, I tried.
The bushes are probably not hiding anything useful. Besides, they are too prickly to examine closely.
Not messing around with that dangerous bush.
The wall is quite solid. Alexander's hands would give way long before the wall did. The side of the rocks abound. The bushes, rocks abound.
Rocks abound. Until he recorded that in a different session.
Ends abruptly at a pile of boulders. Alexander has no need to carry around large rocks.
All of the rock text got recorded in one session.
Rocks abound on
Grass is not significant.
the side of the castle is one big blank wall.
Bad guy has Cassima as a scullery maid. Family is freed from their bottle. Alex is immediately smitten. I see. So it's following that up. Yeah, his life is strange before the storm. Okay. Well, I've got some things to try. Let me go trade some stuff in the shop. Good day to you too.
feels exactly like a tinderbox.
Of course it does.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Certainly not, stranger. Please, choose an item in exchange from those on the counter.
This is a great system where I can just use all his shit and keep trading it back in.
To make his selection.
Good night, sir.
I'll take the flute.
Very good, sir. Enjoy the flute. Remember that I would always take it back in trade.
Thank you.
Alexander sees nothing particularly interesting there.
Oh, Alexander, you goof.
The flute feels light and comfortable in Alexander's hands.
So, like, the hand means touch, basically?
That object has nothing to say.
Okay, so it's not like... I feel like I played a couple adventure games where there's, like, use mouth with is what the talk icon was sometimes.
Alexander doesn't see a reason to put that in the tree's hollow. Alexander plays a lovely little tune on the flute.
They did set up that, you could play woodwinds. Using items on yourself has different effects than just using them from the inventory. Okay.
The counter does not counter.
Effort! I wonder how many secret lines there are like that. Okay, let's see. Trade this back in for the mechanical
shop is
bird.
already filled with curios. There's no reason.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Certainly not.
Alexander.
That mechanical nightingale looks intriguing. I believe I'll take it.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
Alexander sees nothing particularly interesting there.
Oh, it's filled with items in previous games that would have been really nice to have. Does this game do the same? So one of the things I enjoy about a lot of the LucasArts games is they'll set up a puzzle and there'll be an obvious item to use on it, and then you'll use like the most ridiculous possible thing instead. I think it's just kind of a running joke in lots of these adventure games anyway.
The mechanical nightingale is made of tin, painted dreary shades of brown to match the coloring of a real nightingale. A small key emerges from its back.
Like if you found a combination lock, the very last thing you would do is find the combination to the lock to open it, right?
The mechanical nightingale's hard tin body doesn't feel anything like a real bird's soft feathers. That object has nothing to say. Alexander doesn't see a reason to put that in the tree's hollow.
I was like almost positive that that was going to work. Huh. Okay. Well then.
There's
How fare you, peddler?
Hey, lad, have you an old lamp?
No lamps, friend.
Good day.
Because the LucasArts games were kind of sort of made in response to these, right?
Would you...
Sir.
Alexander.
Let's see.
A used painter's brush is displayed on the counter.
I still feel like the tinderbox is the thing that I'm most likely to end up using, but I guess I'll try the paintbrush.
Very good, sir. Enjoy the painter's brush. Remember that I will always take back any of my own items in trade.
Alexander sees... Alexander has not been invited to pick the family's roses.
Okay, I'll probably end up asking. Just trying to see what I can find in the meantime. Would you say that the point-and-click adventure game is your favorite genre, Lidifex? If I can get this, I'm going to try something real quick. I might revert it because I think it's got a janky aspect ratio. No, we're missing some information. If I do that, I'll switch it back to the 720p. Maybe I'll try to make a specific profile so we don't have to have it widescreen like that next time. Let's see.
Alexander might have a paintbrush, but he does not have any paint.
Where would one get paint? So my next guess is to use the flute to try to distract the guards. Give it a shot. If that doesn't work, then I'll ask for Rand. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could change the aspect ratio of the game so it doesn't have to, so it could be full screen on the left side there, but it's not just straight 480p, it's some weird resolution.
Old lamp!
I got you, buddy. Old lamps for new. Give me that flute
Would
back,
you mind?
please.
So, Alexander.
I'll take the...
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
Alexander.
So what was the last good King's Quest game? I assume that... Or what even is going on with Sierra? I don't really know anything about this dev. I don't think I've played a single Sierra game before. Heard of them. Seven's okay.
There's no reason to put that in the hut. There's
So, if I'm in the hut, presumably there's no way for me to use it on him, right?
There's no point in using it.
Try stepping out here.
Alexander plays a lovely little tune on the flute.
You guys still call me a stranger,
I
even
really
though...
must see the princess. Could I speak with someone in charge?
Who are you that I should bother Captain Saladin? Huh?
No, I'm the dude.
My name is Alexander.
You're gonna ask me to prove it, and I'm
I
gonna
am
use
a
my
prince
signet
of
ring.
Daventry
Okay.
and a friend of the princess.
A prince, is it? I see. Yeah, and I am lord of this dusty path. Step aside. You'll not be getting into this castle without some proof of your claims.
Oh, I've got proof. Don't you worry.
Alexander, there's no point in using that. Alexander decides to try his royal insignia ring on the guards. With all of his papers lost in the shipwreck, it is the only possible proof of his identity that he can think of.
Perhaps this ring will convince you of my identity. It is the royal insignia ring of Daventry.
Ha! I'm sure. Just let me take a look at that ring.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Highness. It's just that princes are so uncommon in these parts. Let me get Captain Saladin.
I do like the idea of literal guard dogs. That's fun. Also as a dog.
The
Delightful.
guard returns a moment later with a majestic-looking creature. Captain Saladin speaks with a voice that is gentle, but reflects a will of iron.
Prince Alexander of Daventry, I presume.
Hey,
I'm
there's
afraid
Tony
I'm
J.
unfamiliar with your country, but
What
I'm
a
sure
perfect
Vizier
character for Tony J to
Al-Hazred will want
voice.
meet you, if indeed you are a friend of the princess. Please follow me.
Gentle iron will. That portrait is incredible.
Lord Al-Hazred, a visitor to see you. Prince Alexander of Daventry.
What is it that you seek, Prince Alexander?
Pardon the intrusion, my lord, but I came to see Princess Cassima. Some months ago, my father, King Graham, saved my family and I from imprisonment under an evil wizard named Mordak.
The same wizard that kidnapped the princess?
Exactly. When my father rescued us, he also liberated Cassima and sent her home.
Then your father has my gratitude, and that of the entire kingdom. But I'm afraid I still fail to see the purpose of your visit.
Well, I came to make sure that Cassima arrived safely and to pay my respects. Before we parted, she gave me an invitation to visit.
It's not a cool way to do a
I
cutscene
have no
here.
doubt she did exactly that at the time, Prince Alexander. However, things have greatly changed for Cassima since her ordeal in Mordak's castle. Cassima's parents both became ill and died while she was gone. Cassima is sequestered in mourning for them as
the
befits a
Vizier
princess.
ruling as regent?
She is not receiving visitors of any kind.
Sure.
Even if she were, I do not think your visit would be appropriate. You see, it is time for Cassima to take her responsibilities seriously.
Rolled
With her
that R
parents
in
gone,
responsibilities.
She no longer has the luxury to be a carefree maiden. As was her parents' wish, Cassima and I are to be wed. We shall rule the kingdom together.
So he's Jafar.
I assure you, our marriage is all Cassima wants now. As a prince and a gentleman, it would be best that you leave before there is any further embarrassment.
I see. I suppose that I was mistaken. I thought for certain that Cassima...
The prince is a little naive.
Well, I apologize.
A young man sees what he wishes to see.
Talk to shiny eye dude outside.
Traveling to the land of the Green Isles. May your journey home be swift.
Perhaps I will take the opportunity to look around your fair land while I'm here.
I would advise against that.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
The kingdom is rather, shall we say, inhospitable these days. But it is your neck. You may risk it if you please. Captain Saladin will escort you from the castle. Good day.
Yay, Captain Saladin. Okay, so I can't inspect on that screen. Gotcha.
You have had your hearing with Vizier Al-Hazred. I trust you'll respect his wishes and not return.
No, be my friend.
Not to let you into the castle again. Good day, my lord.
Captain Saladin.
You're such a good boy, Captain Saladin.
At the castle gate, and they nod with understanding.
Yeah, he's totally not a bad guy. Nothing untoward is happening here.
Alexander has a feeling they won't be letting him into the castle again.
Okay, so potentially a event flag. Wait, I have a moment of panic. Okay, there's multiple pages of saves, and if I don't enter a text, it just enters a timestamp, which is perfect.
There's no...
Okay, put this thing back. I can just right-click. Yeah, I feel like the list of advisors / viziers / chancellors who aren't evil is significantly shorter than the list of evil ones. I've thought about this before, like, I guess the Chancellor in Super Mario RPG isn't a bad guy.
The bushes near the side wall of the castle have been left natural and unsculptured.
If that is indeed an event flag, I wonder where things could have changed at this point. Excuse me.
Alexander doesn't want to... Alexander is standing on a dirt street leading through the village. To his right is a fine house with a private yard. The yard is surrounded by a gated fence and is full of red rose
Fake
bushes.
chancellors, yeah.
The
Because
street
yak grows
continues off
bad.
to the northwest, from which direction Alexander can feel a light sea breeze.
But then the good chancellor's descendant is also evil. Or something. Yeah, I was trying to go that way before and it wasn't letting me do it. Thanks, Ludifex, for confirming that. Generally, if I attempt something and rule it out is not possible and it was actually possible, it's fine to speak up there.
The waters in this cove appear calm, but there's a dimpling pattern to the surface, which indicates an undertow.
Don't hear the word undertow used often outside of talking about tool.
Alexander feels his pockets carefully to make sure he hasn't lost anything.
Ocean often.
Alexander would have no use for that rotting rope.
I can't believe the rotting rope has its own dialogue.
Alexander wouldn't know what to do with the old bag of sand.
And the old bag of sand, damn. So, I feel like that's... Most adventure games I've played will just be like generic, like you can picture like a hitbox highlighting everything that's interactable on the screen. And most of it is one generic box that says, I can't use that. So the fact that there's something unique for like...
Alexander can't do anything with the dry dock area.
For the dry dock area, for the sandbag, for the rope, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, what do you want?
What's up, dude?
Alexander promises himself.
Good day, sir. I was just wondering if you own this boat?
None of your business, stranger. Go away. The ferry's out of business.
The door is closed. There is no one there to talk to at this time. A worn wooden vessel has been dry docked on a jetty. The boat is in sad shape. A hole in the hull and the condition of its boards make it obvious that the vessel is no longer seaworthy. That boat is not going anywhere. There's no reason to use... There's no... Alexander plays a lovely little tune on the flute.
The narrator sounds kind of delighted by the lovely little tune.
What would Alexander do with that huge sheet of canvas?
Hey, you tell me, it's an adventure game.
I said the ferry's out of business. What do you want to keep bothering me for?
The boat does not...
The boat does not
I really
reply.
would like to just talk to you, sir.
I've got nothing to say to you, stranger.
That boat is... What would...
Okay, need to like move out of the way so I can knock on that. Once I see the dialogue repeat,
I said the ferry's out of business.
I think that's the same as he said last time.
Alexander...
I really would...
I've got...
Okay. Nothing for that guy right now. Maybe he likes mints.
Alexander's ring is made of the purest gold and has the insignia of the royal family of Daventry on its face.
I'm gonna see if I can find like a snake charmer vase to try playing the flute next to. The sandbag does not reply. Interesting question, I'll check.
Alexander can't see any way to hold a conversation with that.
There is a,
The sail refuses to shoot the breeze with Alexander.
Okay, so I was disappointed at the lack of sandbag unique dialogue, but then there is a pun with talking to the sail. It's fun.
There is no reply. Alexander examines the large pot.
There's a dump site. I don't think I have anything to dump.
Old lamps for new! The battered chest does not interest Alexander. It's probably full of plain earthenware. Alexander is not in the market for pottery just now in his life.
That's pretty great. Shoot the breeze. Oh, lamp merchant's Tony J as well? I guess I haven't heard any of his range. So I can tell you several characters that, like, Billy West does. But I've only really ever heard Tony J do his megabyte voice. Alright, I will accept a hint. What screen should I be on to progress? We'll go with that as the best way to give hints for now. Pawn shop. Oh, really? Okay. So I'll inspect it more.
Good day.
Yo.
The land of the Green Isles must have at least one inhabitant with interest in the mystical, for a crystal ball has been traded in, along with the more common household goods. The world-famous talking bear has been sulking ever since his abduction from a small mountain community in California. He refuses to discuss real estate.
Jeez. I wonder how much they paid the narrator per word. Like, they're like, it's worth it for this bear joke.
The horn has plenty of nothing to say.
The horn has plenty of nothing. I get it.
The man of steel is stumped for an answer. Rat-a-tat-tat. The dusty shop remains peacefully quiet. He's speechless. The dusty shop. The back wall of the shop holds various odds and ends. For example, a hull hole detector for finding those hard-to-spot holes in small sailboats. If Alexander wants anything from the pawn shop, he'll have to first give the pawn shop owner something in trade.
Okay.
There's no reason to use that on the counter.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Certainly not, stranger. Please, choose an item in exchange from those on the counter.
Alexander looks closely at the items on the counter to make his selection.
The tinderbox is probably... Well, it depends. If it's like, take the thing that seems most likely to be useful, or the thing that seems least likely to be useful is the one that actually is useful. I'm sure we're going to end up using the paintbrush on that blank wall at some point.
I believe I'll take the tinderbox.
Very good, sir.
Doesn't
Enjoy
involve
the
trading
tinderbox.
items.
Remember, I am always willing to take it back in trade.
Thank you.
If Alexander... The back wall of the shop holds various bottles and potions. A bottle labeled Owl Courage Potion for spineless owls.
It's great.
The pawn shop is a dimly lit place with a slightly musty smell. Curiosities litter every corner and every shelf. For sale are articles that range from the bizarre to the commonplace, from the priceless to the practical.
Alright, well, I've already talked to the shopkeeper several times, and he just talks to me about trading stuff. Let's see. What is this
A
thing?
strange-looking winged device occupies one corner of the room. It is frail with disuse. Alexander finds it intriguing. Perhaps he thinks it was once used in a local sporting event, in which enthusiasts jumped from cliffs, glided on air currents, and then attempted to land, frequently crunching a bone or two in the process. Alexander shudders at the thought and decides to stick to dragon slaying.
Does this game distinguish between using the talk command versus triggering dialogue with someone through other means? Those can result in different trees.
What can you tell me about the land of the Green Isles?
I can tell you she is in a dark time. Without the ferry, communication between the islands has ground to a halt, and so nearly has my business. Why the long ages of peace have ended, and why the crown has not done something about it is beyond me. But then, I am a shopkeeper, not a politician, and can only hope for better days.
How bide you, good merchant?
Quite well, though a purchase would not hurt me any.
So, I've already been following the rule of trying to knock on the door several times. I guess tell me once I've tapped out the dialogue tree if it doesn't become obvious to me.
Quite well.
Okay, so that's it. Like an event flag to go somewhere else. So I'll talk to this guy since I originally interacted with him by touching his stuff, I think.
If you would like to get one of my fine new lamps, I'll need an old lamp in trade.
That's the same line we've already heard about the genie. Let's try the other locations.
Hello? Now.
What can I do for you?
Good day, sir.
The mysterious old man just ignores Alexander.
Rude.
What can you tell me about the land of the Green Isles?
That is a big question, young man.
My name is Alexander.
This island, there are at least...
At least
three? Learned these already, I think.
Does no one know for certain?
This is no ordinary
Oh, wait, no, this is new, my bad.
The land of the Green Isles has always been a place of vague boundaries, as if islands come and go. Legend speaks of a fourth island, an isle shrouded in
We'll
mist.
never go there.
I myself have never seen it. Then, too, the land of the Green Isles is said to exist on the boundaries of this world and the next. Even darker places are reputed to be closer here than anywhere else in the world.
That's quite a claim.
Claim, yes, but probably just local superstition. We who live here on the Isle of the Crown, at least, sleep well enough at night.
Those first three islands you mentioned, how might I learn more about
I skipped through them by mistake. I thought I heard this already.
A young man seeking such knowledge would travel to their shores and learn about them firsthand. Meeting the leaders of each place would be helpful, naturally. Unfortunately, the ferry no longer runs between the islands. There has been much political unrest, and it has been too dangerous to travel for years. Perhaps the ferryman can tell you more.
Oh, there we go.
He has little enough to do these days. And if you haven't been there already, you might seek an audience at the castle.
Thank you
Tried that
kindly,
already.
Merchant, for all your good advice.
Ah, but advice is free, Alexander. Making use of it costs much more.
So was that just the result of talking to him twice, or did going in the castle or talking to the merchant next door work as a event flag for that? Just talking to him repeatedly, okay. That's the kit. Oh shit, I didn't mean to skip that. Please.
A young boy is happily swimming in the sea off the docks.
Trying
Good
to
day.
click.
I'm Alexander. What are you doing in the sea?
So
What does
polite.
it look like I'm doing? I'm swimming. I mean, come join me. The water's wonderful. I can show you the way to the next island. Come on,
Sure.
jump in. A little water won't hurt you.
Let me save my game. It's a little suspicious. Just a teensy bit. He's got a glinting eye like that guy in the room.
The powerful currents grab Alexander. Struggle as he might, he feels himself being pulled out to sea.
Having not played a Sierra game, I still have the right intuition to save there, I suppose.
Not a very good swimmer, are you?
It did warn me about the undertow, too.
Help me! Sorry, I think not.
He's like, I'm not going to say tee-hee.
As his head submerges for the third time, Alexander finds himself pondering the wisdom of going out on a limb for a stranger.
That's fun. So I'm not used to this, having played mostly LucasArts adventure games on stream so far. Like, oh, that's going to go to the land of the dead.
Next. Alexander couldn't handle those currents. That boy must be an unbelievably strong swimmer.
Maybe he's a merman. Merboy. So like that's another thing that the LucasArts games pioneered was the idea of a adventure game where you can't die. It's cool though. Glad we saw it.
The waters in this cove appear...
What are you waiting for? I said I'd show you how to get to the next island, didn't I?
A young boy.
Come join me, if you're brave enough.
That's strange. The young boy in the water just disappeared.
I'm sure that's what happened.
Perhaps he just dove under the water.
I said the ferry's out of business. What do you want to keep bothering me for?
Alexander promises himself that he will...
Excuse me. My name is Alexander.
There we go. Progress.
The owner of the bookshop in the village told me you might be able to help me. I hear you used to run this ferry for the islands. I'd like to talk to you if you have a moment.
You say old Allie sent you? I can't see why. The ferry's not running, you know.
I understand. I'd just like to talk to you about the islands if you don't mind.
Well, I guess it'd be all right if Allie sent you. Well, don't just stand there. Come on inside. What is it you wanted to talk about, young man?
Let me save here. Okay, future Marstead, King's Quest, you're talking to this person, the ferryman. So resolve this conversation. Stuff to remember, there was a creepy dude with a glowing eye, and then you just ran into a merboy who also had a glowing eye and disappeared. So I guess keep an eye out for that. You've got all the items you can get from the pawn shop, but haven't found a use for any of them yet. Double check your inventory, and don't forget you can turn the speed down if you need to in case there's a puzzle later that requires it. We got to see Tony J the dog, so it was totally worth it. Thanks to LudoFX for putting this on. It's pretty fun. Switch to the last... we got 2 more subblock games. Switch to the next one.
So soon?
Yes, I've had it. No, I must quest on. Yeah, it's cool.